Hi everyone, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp and welcome to the August 2023 edition of Making the Cut. Making the Cut is my series here on Simon Says Stamp where we talk about all things die cutting, which is my favorite. And today we are going to color a die cut frame with the Super Sunflower plate. Now this would work whether you're doing a big frame like the one I'm doing here, or if you are doing lots of individual images. Even though this is a frame, I kind of approached it like they were individual images because they are kind of delicate. Now to make them a little sturdier and to stand up to the water that we're going to add to this, I did die cut this Super Sunflower plate from Watercolor cardstock, and I did try to use the smoother side of the cold press watercolor cardstock when I did this. Now I have just a few shades of the Distress pencils here, and I am going to start coloring. This is super quick and easy. I believe I ended up only using 4 colors of pencils to get beautiful results. So you will notice I am just messy coloring. I did a little yellow for the sunflower petals, not leaves, petals. And then I did a nice brown in the center, but I don't cover the whole thing on either one. Then we're using a couple of shades of greens for the stems and leaves. I've got a water brush pen that I'm going to start applying around the edges, kind of just blending that color, pulling that color, and even pulling a little bit of the brown out into the yellow for a very soft watercolored look. I talk about this quite a bit, that I am not a fantastic watercolor artist by any means. So I love products that allow me to achieve that kind of look and effect very easily. And hopefully if that is not something that you are super comfortable with, maybe this is something that would work for you as well. It just allows everyone to be a great watercolor artist. So I love it. It is so soft, so pretty. I'm going to go ahead and do this for the rest of the petals. Now, if you don't have the watercolor Distress pencils, you could use your Distress ink pads themselves kind of as a palette, press them into your Simon Says Stamp glass mat here and use a water brush or a paintbrush dipped in water and paint that color on. There are a lot of ways to achieve a similar look and effect. These pencils definitely do make it easy. I have colored with Distress inks in the past many times, but I have to say I am loving these pencils for super fast coloring. I'm going to continue to do this all the way around the panel. I cannot remember if I did the whole thing on camera or not. It is simply repetition, and as I mentioned, it's the same 4 colors over and over again, so very quick and easy. Definitely don't want it to be perfection or perfect. I did move to the glass mat because it allows me to very quickly and easily clean up. So as I'm coloring, I may get a little water outside of the paper or, off of the image onto the glass mat. I don't want to really smear that water around. I want my paper to dry pretty much as fast as possible. So I will use a dry rag, or you can use a paper towel or something and clean it up as you go along, but very quick. This was one of those cards that literally came together so quickly, and you've got to love that. I think this would also be a fantastic card to replicate. Maybe do a whole card set, make a thank you card set or something for a friend or loved one. I love giving gift card sets as gifts. I think that they are always so appreciated and needed. So once I have my color down, so you'll notice now I am just simply laying the color everywhere so that I can be done with the Distress watercolor pencils and I can move on to using my water brush pen to smooth that out. And I am going to start by the brown in the center. And the reason I do that is so that I can gently pull some of that brown out into the yellow. So you'll notice I'm kind of just doing the flower centers. Well, once I'm done with that, then I can start blending out the yellow of the leaves. And I like a little bit, because I didn't blend multiple colors into the petals. I keep saying leaves, I meant petals. Because I only have the one color, this gives a two-tone look. I don't want it to be too brown, but I do like a little bit of that darkening down near the base of each petal. Quick and easy. Now, I did leave the frame white. The watercolor cardstock is not a pure white, so it's not going to be the white of, let's say, a Nina cardstock or something to that effect. I did use the watercolor cardstock because I felt it would stand up a little bit better to the water I'm adding, but you might be able to get similar results from a nice heavyweight Nina or something like that if you want to give it a try. Now, once I have everything all colored in, I want to build a beautiful background for my card. You could pop this onto, put some acetate behind it, foam tape, and make a shaker card. You could make a flat shaker where you wrap the a thin piece of packaging or a flat shaker pocket around a background and fill it with sequins and stuff and place this on the front with a greeting. You could put it inside the shaker if you wanted to. I decided to just do a traditional card, but I want my background to be something that shows off the beautiful sunflowers. And my absolute favorite background, wood plank background, it's one of my top favorite backgrounds, period, is the wood planks from Simon Says Stamp. I know I have used this multiple times in videos. It is one of those stamps that I highly recommend. It can be used in so many ways. It is one of my all-time favorites. So I've used a little Archival ink here to stamp the texture. I did that because this ink, I wanted it to be brown, number one. A dye ink would probably work as well. The Archival ink is going to stay just a little bit maybe crisper, darker, but you can use any kind of brown dye ink here. And then I love to ink blend over the top and give it this beautiful wood grain finish. And my favorite colors are Gathered Twigs and Ground Espresso. And the reason I like that Archival or dye ink for the wood planks itself is it maintains the beauty without blending out. You could stamp the wood grain texture with Ground Espresso and then ink blend over. It is going to soften it. I have done that in the past, but my personal preference really is something that stays a little crisper and maintains the wood grain. It looks like pattern paper that you trimmed down from a 6x6 pattern paper pack. And that is my favorite. Wood grain is always my favorite. So I go over it with Gathered Twigs first, and then I'm going around the edges with Ground Espresso. And I think it just looks absolutely beautiful. We're going to grab a splatter box now and a little white gouache, and I am going to add just a bit of distressing. You could also splatter this with water and, dab those dry. That's going to give lighter areas, but I just decided to go with a little bit of white gouache. Now, I'm keeping this simple today, but I want to give you a couple of ideas if you want to create something similar and you want to add more to your card. Consider going to your stash, and here's a couple of die sets, I guess I want to say, that I've been thinking of. I think bumblebees or ladybugs would be adorable added to this card. So two that I'm thinking, if you want to go cutesy, Lawn Fawn has some very cute little bumblebees. If you want to go more elegant, traditional, Hero Arts has a great set that has a bumblebee in it or bumblebees, and you could add those to your cards just to kind of help reinforce like this summer gardeny feeling card design. Now, once the white gouache that I have splattered over the background is dry, I am going to go ahead and put liquid glue all over my super sunflower background. And I found it easiest to adhere it this way. I did notice my background was a little bigger than my die cut frame, and my die cut frame is A2 sized, 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. That means that the quality control, aka me, who trimmed the background panel, just trimmed it a little big. So I will take some scissors and trim that down in a minute. To create my greeting today, so that the sunflowers are the star of the show, I picked this beautiful waving hello sentiment from the Swell stamp set, and I inked it on some Neenah cardstock with the Simon Says Stamp clear embossing ink, and we are going to mix a couple of my favorite Distress Glaze colors. We are using today Crushed Olive and Rustic Wilderness together. So I'm first putting on Crushed Olive, and then I'm just kind of funneling that back into my container. And you're going to see what happens here. I'm going to put Rustic Wilderness. I wasn't super happy with this, but I was going to go ahead and just use it as is, honestly. But I took it over to my trash can just to tap off a few of those additional little flakes that didn't filter back in, and I tapped too hard. And when I came back, I was like, oh, where did all my embossing powder go? So I actually just went over the whole thing again with Crushed Olive, and this effect, you guys, was amazing. So happy accident. If you do something similar, I didn't even stamp it again. I'm going to heat emboss this and die cut it with the coordinating die. I love it. Before we do any die cutting, however, there is a little sentiment in this set that I'm going to stamp with clear ink and heat emboss with the Rustic Wilderness. It's the Wish You Were Here. So it says waving hello, and I'm imagining the sunflowers, you know, blowing in the summer breeze. I say breeze, or the summer blast furnace. That's also what I call it when it's so super hot. But I'm imagining the sunflowers blowing in the wind, and you know, they're waving hello. So that was kind of my thought process when choosing a sentiment to go with this, and I think that would work for all kinds of flowers. Now, I know I used the sunflowers in today's card, but there are so many beautiful florals from Simon Says Stamp, so consider checking out any of the dies or any of the dies from your stash and coloring them with your Distress watercolor pencils and see what you think of the results. It is so beautiful, and is just the perfect way to add some color and customize your beautiful floral designs. Okay, we're going to heat set this now and then die cut our greetings and add them to our card design. So here I have them already die cut. I used the coordinating die for waving hello, the sentiment label for Wish You Were Here, and I'm going to pop these up with foam adhesive. Of course, I had to break out the foam adhesive somewhere. And once I have these where they're going to go, there's 5 sunflowers. So one of them is getting covered up quite a bit. I don't need to worry about embellishing that one, but I did decide I want to add a little bit of embellishment somewhere to the design. And I decided to use some beautiful brown pearls here. And I'm going to add those to the center of my sunflowers. 3 little pearls on 2 of the sunflowers, 2 on the other one, so that they're kind of uneven. I like the uneven look. And then a little coffee bean Trinity Stamps brown heart for the eye. I think, you know, I love a little heart. I thought at first I would add them to the center of the sunflowers, but I love it there on the greeting. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this super fun August edition of Making the Cut here at Simon Says Stamp. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time. Bye!
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up. and subscribe to see more great content.